Hello and welcome to another episode of the United in Spirit podcast. Different type of episode today. We will be doing a tier list of how well the players have done this season or how they performed. So the best category you can get into is Player of the Year. So basically, are you likely to be nominated for Player of the Year? And the next category is Great Season. You have a great season. You're contributing well to the team. The team are better with you in it, and you're not going to be nominated for Player of the Year, but you're having a good season. He's contributed. Middle of the road. You haven't done amazing. You haven't led the world of light, but you're not, a bad effect on the team, really. Underwhelming. We expect more of you. You're a good player, you're not performing, or you're a bad player and you're not really improving. And it might have to go as either you're just not playing, or you are playing and you're just not playing well at all, and it's probably time to move on. So the first player on the year list is Bruno Fernandes, player of the year in I think 1920 and 2021. So I don't think he's player of the year. I think there are other nominees for player of the year. Maybe if he would just join a team, he'd probably be in the player of the year conversation. But I think we just got so used to how good Bruno Fernandes is. I think it's fine to him just being a great season, and he is having a great season. He isn't doing the numbers that he did 2 years ago, or just like a year ago. But in a team with other great players in it, you're probably not going to have that. And Ten Hag doesn't usually have players that go off for 30 goals and 20 assists. It's a team game usually. But even though he's not getting the goals and the assists as as we got used to him seeing, he is still contributing well to the team. We are such a better team with him in it. Like, you've got to see the Aston Villa away game, for example. We were so lost without him. There was such a hole in the middle of the park without him. Like, just his energy, running around, just pressing, work rate, running back. The amount of times we see him in the 90th minute sprint the whole way of the field up the pitch and then sprint all the way back and then back up the pitch. And there's no other player like that in the team, maybe apart from Fred. And he adds goals and assists to the team. He's had 2 goals and 1 assist in the league this season. Yeah, that's not great, but he's created 8 big chances and 2.6 key passes per game. That should warrant at least 3 or 4, or maybe even 5, 6 assists. But, finishing the season hasn't been our strong point, and we've wasted chances. But he's creating chances. They're not being put away. But I still think he's warranted to be put in the category of great season. Next person, I think Diogo Dalot, I think, has been put in the Player of the Year nomination. He's not as good as Bruno Fernandes. I think we all know that. But the improvement that we've seen this season has been the improvement into where you can argue he's one of the best right backs in the league. And that's what's going to win you Player of the Year is you've improved so much that we don't have to worry that position anymore. We might have to worry as a backup for you. But he's improved so much that it's just a given that Dalot starts and Dalot plays well usually now. Apart from the game he's suspended, he's played every single game. Played every single minute of every game, basically. And him playing to Ten Hag's way, he suits it. He doesn't, go out of the way. He suits the tactics. He plays the tactics. He doesn't do anything, that's gonna put the team in danger. He's a good ball player. Improved a lot defensively. That's good. He's improved defensively, and I think there are still levels for him to go. There are still levels to go. And I think over time, as we get more used to the players around us, where they are around us, and who to pass to in their positions, I think we have a top-class right-back on our hands. And this season, the way it's gone, I think he's a great candidate for Player of the Year. That's what is halfway through the season. And then next one, David De Gea. You see, he has improved on the last couple of seasons. Everyone thought he was great last season. He wasn't good at all. But he's improved to the fact he's actually, coming outside of his box. He's, claiming crosses a bit more often. He's, passing a bit more, but it's still not good. It's still on the lower end. If you look at all the metrics, he's still lower end of keepers for most things. So the fact he's improved doesn't really say much. Shot stopping is still good, but the fact he is putting us under pressure for his bad kicks is kind of, counteractive for shot stopping. So I'm going to put him. He's not been terrible, so I'll put him in. He's contributed. He hasn't been underwhelming because he hasn't been as bad as the last couple of seasons, but still not great, and definitely not player of the year. And Dubravka, underwhelming probably. Just he played one game in Aston Villa, he did it right. There's nothing else to do it, is there? Van de Beek might have to go. Everyone thought Van de Beek under Erik ten Hag, he will be, his player. He's the one, he had him at Ajax. He grew him into the player that got him the move to Manchester United. But no, he's played 4 games in the Premier League. He started 1, and the only game we've actually won when he has played is against Liverpool, and that's when he came on in the 86th minute. But even in the Europa League, he came off the bench against Sheriff. Didn't do anything in them 10 minutes. He started against Sociedad away. Again, didn't do anything. His first game back from injury, so maybe you can excuse him for that. And Aston Villa away, again anonymous. Just really bad, really bad. And you can see by his touches as well. 18 touches away to Aston Villa. Then away to Sociedad, he had 19 touches. And at home to Aston Villa again. I remember it was a stat. It was like 11 touches in the first half. So he had 21 touches overall. So improved their second half, but he just doesn't get involved in games enough. There has to be too much good around him for him to be well. It's all good in saying, he needs the creators around him. Like Ajax, he had De Jong, Tadic around him to create for him. He had Neres to create for him, but at some point that's too much to ask for in a league like the Premier League. You can't be a player of Van de Beek and not do anything to warrant to have the team built around you. That's essentially what people are saying. We need to build the team around that Van de Beek, and that's not going to happen. And that shouldn't happen. It definitely shouldn't happen. It should warrant that happening. And for that reason, he might have to go. Because if you need everything around you to be perfect for you to play, and that's just not going to happen, then you can't contribute. We need players to either build around players to play as they contribute, or come off the bench and contribute in their own way. But we can't have to keep relying on others to do everything. Talking about, relying on others to do everything, Ronaldo. He relies on everyone else to do everything for him these days, because he can't do anything. He scored 3 goals this season, 2 against Sheriff, 1 against Everton, and he's been so bad this season, so bad. Interviews aside, wanting to leave aside, purely on the football pitch, he's been terrible. We are such a better team with him on the bench. We're such a better team with him out of the way, in general. When he's on the pitch, he doesn't offer anything apart from standing in the box and lugging in crosses to him. Here's the example. In the Fulham game, Garnacho has the ball on the left-hand side, and he passes it inside to Eriksen in the 93rd minute. Ronaldo is in that position a lot. For some reason, he does like to roam into other people's spaces, which is so pointless, because that's exactly what Ten Hag doesn't want. He doesn't want 2 people in the same space. He wants people in their own pockets. So Ronaldo sometimes does just wander off the left-hand side, and does a 1-2 with a player, and it leads to nothing. Garnacho had the ball on the left side, played it to Eriksen, immediately sprints into the box. Sprints past the cannon box, Eriksen plays the ball to him, and we win. Because he scores in the 93rd minute. If that's Ronaldo, he's on the left-hand side, he gives it to Eriksen, and he stands still and waits for the ball back. And you go, do something. The amount of times we go, what? We've got the ball on the right-hand side, and then we're like, Ronaldo's not in the box. Where is he? He's either on the right-hand side as well, or, far left hand side doing nothing. His movement's not that good. He's never in the right positions, and when he is in the right position, he hasn't been able to do anything with it. It's sad to see such a great player that Ronaldo's been to football, him ending up this way where he just isn't very good. He's our third, fourth, fifth choice striker on the way he's performed, and for that reason, for performance reasons alone, he has to go, but there are other reasons maybe contributing to the fact he has to go. Next player, let's go to another good point, Antony. Brought in for 100 million euros from Ajax. He's Ten Hag's boy. Ten Hag put his trust in him straight away. No, he didn't have to do that. Straight away he started against Arsenal. Then, every game since joining he started until he got injured. But against Sheriff. But he started every game. And tactically we look a lot better with him in the side. He keeps his width. He knows what Ten Hag wants of him. That's not something else we can say for a lot of players. They don't know what Ten Hag wants from them all the time. They know the snippets of it. They know they're building up to knowing what Ten Hag wants, but they don't know everything. Antony knows everything. He knows where to be. He knows when to press. When knows to hold his width. When knows to cut inside. He knows what to do, and he knows what he expects of him. He scored 3 goals in his first 3 Premier League games. Very good. And we just play better with him in the side, and that's really good. And he's shown promises. He's new country, new language, new people, new team, new league, toughest league in the world, especially coming from Netherlands. I think he settled in really well, and I think he's having a great season. It's sad he got injured. We really miss him when he's injured because we just have no one else really, maybe apart from Sancho, but doesn't really do that well there, to hold that width on the right hand side and be effective with it as well. Next one's easy, Wan-Bissaka. Where is he? Where is he? He has played 1 game this season, and that was coming off the bench in the 86th minute against Liverpool. Apart from that, he's been completely absent. I don't know if he's been injured. I don't know if he's ill. I don't know if Ten Hag just doesn't like him. And for that reason, he just has to go. We're obviously in for another right back, and Wan-Bissaka's just not up to the stand and has to go based off performances, which is that 10 minutes against Liverpool. Next one, Eriksen, great season. I'm not going to put him player of the year because there has been some struggles this season. Physically, he does get overwhelmed sometimes. We saw that maybe in the Brentford game, where they were just too quick for him, and in some other games they have been able to get at him physically. But his passing, his footballing IQ has been amazing. His playmaking is amazing. He's not quite player of the year, I don't think. Maybe when we revise this later. But he has massive upgrades from the Fred and McTominay midfield to Casemiro and Eriksen, and Eriksen's a big part of that. He's the most elite ball player we've had at the club for a long, long time. He can play with both feet. The switches of play have been amazing. Finally got his first goal against Fulham, but also got the assist against Fulham, which is amazing. It's great. We probably do need to get another midfielder in because physically, I don't want him playing every single game. You do see sometimes in some games he does, get tired a bit. You want to save his energy. And dribbling, we do need a ball carrying that midfield. It's maybe a bit too pass heavy there. But he's been having a great season. He's had a massive effect on the team, and it's a joy to watch him play for Man United. Next player, another player that's a joy to watch play Man United right now, is Martial. This time last year, it was not looking good. He was moping around the pitch. He wasn't getting picked. He wasn't contributing when he was picked. He looked sluggish. He looked slow. But this season, he's looked a completely changed player. He's only played 7 games this season, which is, a bit annoying. But in them 7 games, he's played well in most of them. Maybe apart from the Fulham and Aston Villa game, where the Aston Villa game, first game back from injury, coming off the bench. bit hard to maybe affect the game when the team was playing so bad already. And the Fulham game, I think he looked a bit leggy maybe, playing that long straight after coming back from injury. It was an intense game. A lot was asked from him. He looked a bit leggy, but that's the only games he's really been bad this season. He came off the bench against Liverpool, assist. He looked really good. Came off the bench against Manchester City. 2 goals, looked really good. Came off the bench. Did he come off the bench against Ammonia? He did, and he looked really good. Really good. Scored a goal. Then he started against Everton. Got the assist for Anthony's goal. We looked good, but he had to come off with an injury. And that's really where his season starts and regained with the Aston Villa game. Come off the bench, didn't really do much. Aston Villa at home, he looked really good. Scored the goal, linked up play well. And then Fulham away, again, like I said, he struggled. But when he has played, he's been Player of the Year probably. But he hasn't played enough to be Player of the Year conversation, has he? But he's had a great season. And that's the most we could have asked him for this season. If he said Martial will be in a great season conversation, we'll be happy with that. Because after the last season, even the season before, it was have to go. It wasn't even my fault, it has to go. Especially after the loan spell against Sevilla. Next player, Casemiro. I don't think we've seen the best of Casemiro, and that's because we've been so chopped and changed around him that he's had to do a lot. But we saw in them 2.5 games against Newcastle, Tottenham and Chelsea, that trio of Casemiro, Varane and Martinez, it was elite in them 2.5 games. Against 3 of the top sides in the league, we didn't let any chances happen. We were so good, and Casemiro is a massive part of that. He's been really, really good for the team. Really good for the team. Is he Player of the Year nomination? Because if you look at him, he's just such an upgrade. And he's been really good. And he's played a lot as well since joining. I'll put him in great season so far. I might be being too harsh on some of these. I'll put him in great season so far. Actually, I'll put him Player of the Year. I'll put him Player of the Year because he's had a massive effect on the team. We saw after. We saw with McTominay that we were playing really well. But as soon as Casemiro aside, we saw what happened when you play really well, and you are a very, very good side, elite side, and that was the difference with Casemiro coming in, ball playing, winning the ball back. He's just marvellous to watch, and it's great to see him play. Another Brazilian coming up next, Fred. It's hit and miss with Fred, isn't it? Because you look back at maybe like the Tottenham game, and you're like, this could work. Fred and Casemiro in midfield. It actually worked quite well. Fred was getting high up the pitch, winning the ball high up the pitch, contributing up the pitch. So, because when you get Fred up the pitch, he is very good. But it's when you get him, further down the pitch, it's really bad. Because you look at some of the other games, West Ham, Aston Villa, Newcastle, it's just average. There's too much bad to come with the good. That's the problem with Fred. There's too much bad to come with the good for him to be consistent for Manchester United. And I'll put him in his contributor because that's really what we expect from Fred coming off the bench. But it wouldn't surprise me if we just let him go in the summer. I think his contract's up. It wouldn't surprise me if we just don't extend it because of that inconsistency. Next player. Oh, it's lovely to see Alejandro Garnacho, isn't it? I watched him last season in the Youth Cup at Old Trafford. See him score near the overhead kick against Scunthorpe. Seeing the goals against Wolves, Leicester. I think it was Everton as well with that goal running from his own half. And then in the final against Nottingham Forest, scoring a penalty, scoring that solo goal. And you go, he's 17 years old, but there is a player in there. In 2 years, in the first team, he could contribute. 4 or 5 months later, he's in the first team and being our best player last month. 2 goals and 2 assists. He's had a real effect on the season. I don't know, without him in the last month or so, we've been, I don't know where we would be. We wouldn't have been in Sociedad because he got the goal. He came off the bench in the League Cup against Aston Villa and salvaged a win. We would have been out of the cup. We probably would have drawn with Fulham, if he didn't come up with that goal in the 93rd minute. He's been so good, so good, and the best part of it, he's recovered from bad discipline issues. He got disciplined for not turning up on time to meetings, and he got punished for that. But he's recovered from that, and that's a good sign. It's not a good sign he had the discipline issues, but it's a good sign that he's recovered from that, and I like that. And it means he knows not to do it again, and he's able to learn. Other players, they wouldn't have done the same. They could have shelled up. They could have, stick to them, become inside themselves. Think of every decision they have to make again because they don't want to be wrong again. But he's said, "I've made a mistake. I'm going to still do me, but I'm going to do it to your rules as well." And I like that. He's confident. He's cocky, and I love it. And he's had a great season. Elanga, I think with Elanga, he's still young, but he's brought in to do the old person job of, bring energy, bring work rate, maybe not as much quality, but you contribute to the team in other ways. But he's 20 years old. He's not 21 till April, but he's been asked to do jobs that or people he would say are 34, nearing the end of the career, but you want them to do a job for you. He's doing that at 20 years old, and that's not an easy thing to do. And while he's not contributing really much to the team when he's there, you can see there's not much quality there, but he is asked to do jobs that you'd rather a kid like what we're doing with Garnacho, just go out there, enjoy yourself, do some skills, get past some players, use your pace, get into them positions, and maybe not worry as much defensively, but we're bringing him as that defensive option to work hard and do the hard work for the team, especially when Ronaldo's in. That's usually when Elanga plays, is when Ronaldo. So we have another player that actually works defensively, and that's hard on a 20-year-old to think of all them things. So I think I'll put him his contract because I think as a squad player he's great, and if he does improve his end product, he'll be a great player because he has the foundations to be able to be a great player already. He's shown that he can play to the manager's tactics. He's shown he can work hard. He shows he has pace and strength and some defensive instinct as well. But he's 20 years old. By the time he's 25, if he's contributing, I don't know, 8 goals, 3 assists to Man United, I think that's a good player. There's no reason to sell him. That's it. Next player, Tom Heaton, probably has to go. There's no point in him being here. He hasn't played this season. Jadon Sancho. Now, if we were doing this a bit earlier in the season, it would have been probably Player of the Year. If we were doing it probably after maybe the Sheriff game, after the Leicester game, probably Player of the Year. But over the past month or so, it's gone a bit downhill, isn't it? It maybe started with that Ammonia game where he just didn't look confident taking on Ammonia's defenders, and he did that. He passed it back to Malacia, and we conceded from that because he just put Malacia in all sorts of trouble. He needs that confidence back. He doesn't seem to have confidence right now. Maybe this time off is to him to regain his confidence, and he should. But he's such a good and technically gifted player. This is what's been annoying about Sancho. He's so good. He's so good. At his best, he's our best attacker. But he hasn't been at his best, and that's why the front three, if all fit, it'll be Anthony, Martial, and then Anthony, Martial, and then Marcus Rashford. And he should be in that front three. But he hasn't done enough, both either in the league or in the cup competitions, to get that maybe starting position. He's just been too inconsistent, and again, like Van der Beek, maybe he needs to have good things around him for him to be really good. And at a big club like Man United, who can't afford to have that everything go perfect for you every single minute of every single game, you need to get it in within yourself to affect the game yourself. And it's not have to go yet. If it carries on for another year or two, it'll be have to go. But it's been underwhelming. I hope for a better second half season because he has so much potential. He's so good. He's probably the best technical player at the club. And we just want him to succeed. And maybe we saw in Dortmund that he likes playing in the inside channels. He likes, getting into that half space between the edge of the box, between like halfway through the D and the other side of the box. And he wants to get them half spaces. He wants the overlapping fullbacks. He wants players running around him. He can pick out a pass. He would pick out a shot. But with Ten Hag, he wants his wingers out wide to create space for other people. And maybe it's just time he has to get time for used to running at defenders. He's not a player to run at defenders and pick out a cross. He likes being in them small spaces, 1-2s. So maybe it's just adapting his game to be able to do that. And maybe that does take time. You see with Pep Guardiola's wingers, they sometimes take time. So maybe it is just about taking time with Sancho. So hopefully maybe in the second half season after he has this time off, he gets more training with Ten Hag and he can flourish in the second half season and for the rest of his Man United career. Next player, I think it's most be he is our player of the year so far, I think. Lisandro Martinez. He was, ridiculed, shall we say, for his height, for his price tag before he joined, because people didn't actually know what he did, because people had never watched him before. But I think it's safe to say now that he's top 2-3 centre-backs in the league. I'd say probably the best centre-back in the league. If you put him in any team in the league, he would be their starting centre-back easily. If we go through the league, Arsenal, he's better than Gabriel, easily better than Gabriel. So much better than Gabriel. It's actually unbelievable how much better he is. Man City, probably better than all of them. Probably Ruben Diaz is probably anyone, but he's better than John Stones, Nathan Ake. Laporte's been a bit hit and miss sometimes. Akanji, hit and miss. Lisandro Martinez is more consistent, better than all of them. Newcastle, yeah, he'll probably start next to Botman. Chelsea would easily start in their defence. I don't even know who they play anymore. It's just Thiago Silva and then whoever Potter decides. Tottenham, yeah, if it was in the middle instead of Dyer, if it was on the left instead of Davies, easily starts. And they even go around the world. Like Barcelona, it would easily start for them next to Araujo or Koundé, wherever they start. And you just go, he's just amazing. Ball playing ability. He starts most of our attacks. He stops most of the opposition attacks. His aggressiveness is, I'll take one for the team here just so we get on top of them. They fear us more. His leadership. His aggressiveness, his leadership, and his demeanour just completely upgrades our defence. The defence last year was so quiet together. They never, celebrated anything. They were just, always blame the others. We concede and we go, oh, here we go again. Martinez picks them up, gets them going again. When we do well, he shouts to them, he gets them going. We saw what Timber said last season. Martinez shouts him because he knows he can lose concentration. And we've seen what happened with Ajax this season. Without him, they conceded the goals left, right, and centre. And Timber's not looking as good because he doesn't have Martinez next to him to shout at him all game. And that's what we've been missing our defence. He's a general in defence. And he's amazing. Harry Maguire. I think Harry Maguire is what we expected expected what Martinez is bringing. But he hasn't been bringing that at all. He started the season as the starting centre-back and it didn't look good. He didn't look good next month. They both want to do the same thing. They both want to step up the pitch. And Martinez can cover, but he's so good at stepping into midfield or being the aggressive centre-back that you just don't want him to be that cover guy. So against Brentford and Brighton, Harry Maguire looked terrible. And he's benched. Comes on against Arsenal. Starts against Sociedad, we lose. And then comes off the bench against Sheriff. Yeah. Then he starts against... he does well against West Ham in the second half. but that was more because it suited his game. It was just backs against the wall defending, so it kind of suited him. Against Sociedad, he came off the bench, played up front. Yeah, we'll stop talking that. And then against Aston Villa in the Cup, he didn't look good. He just wasn't aware of what was going on, really. And for us to play what Ten Hag wants to do, I think he's just going to might have to go. He just hasn't got the pace to play a high line, but it's just not about the pace, it's about awareness. Martinez isn't, fast, but he's aware, he's positionally amazing, and when he does step out, he wins the ball all the time. He's agile, but Maguire's just not that. And it's, sad to see you want your £80 million defender to play well, but it's not. Next up, Scott McTominay. I think we put in a great season. Yeah. He was keeping Casemiro at the side to start the season. Yeah. Since, coming out of the side, he's been a bit part player, playing here and there. Coming off the bench usually, but he's contributed quite. I've always said and always thought that McTominay coming off the bench is very good because he provides energy. He does provide quality at times, but you don't want him playing 90 minutes because you always know he's not going to do something well. You always know he's going to misplace a pass or not see something, and you don't want that in your team for 90 minutes. But for 20 minutes, when he has fresher legs, when he brings energy to the side, when he does sometimes provide a scoring threat, shown against Aston Villa where we scored, got closer for another time. He's a very good player. And he was contributing earlier in the season. But again, like I said earlier, we saw the difference between a good and a great player. And that was what happened when he switched out for Casemiro. But overall, I still think he's had a great season. Next up, Marcus Rashford. Another player in the Player of the Year category. Rashford last year, I don't know whether it's Rangnick, whether it's injuries, whether it was just in his head. He just wasn't performing. Maybe that's because he was on the right-hand side all the time, or just Rangnick didn't believe in him. But this season, when he's been playing striker most of the time, but even when he's been on the left wing, he's contributed. He's contributed all the time, and yes, he's had some games like in that trio of games in Newcastle, Tottenham, Chelsea. He missed so many chances, and that it cost us a few points, but he makes them chances. His press is really good. Last season, his work rate was so bad. He wouldn't press. He would just stand there. He wouldn't follow up. It just wasn't good. It wasn't good to see. But this season, he leads to press. He's aggressive. He gets his defense. He's physical, and he's scoring goals. He looks physically a lot better this season. He's got that burst back. Last season, he kind of lost that burst. He's got it back this season, and it's nice to see. And what I think hasn't been said enough this season is that he hasn't had the players around him, consistently. He's had Martial around him for a couple of games. He's had Sancho around him. He's had Langa, Sancho, Fernandes, Van der Beek, Garnacho, Ronaldo. It's not been consistent. In the second half of the season, I think we'll see, hopefully, if injuries dependent, we'll see a much more consistent front three, and they'll probably consist more of Anthony Martial, Rashford, and Sancho, and hopefully maybe another striker maybe as well. But it'll be them four, maybe plus another one, and hopefully they can get consistent minutes together, because we're seeing what Rashford can do with Martial up front. They can work really well together. And he's our top scorer this season. He scored 4 in the league. And then in the Europa League, he's also scored 3 goals. He's also got that other one in the Carabao Cup. And he's recalled to England scored this, that shows how good he's been doing this season. And it's just nice to see. Everyone wants to see Rashford succeed, and it's nice to see him back to his best and contributing to goals as best. Next player, Rafael Varane. If he played every single game this season, like Martial, he would be Player of the Year candidate. Because I think Varane's our most important player. last season we were a lot better with him in the side and a lot worse without him. But you saw his effect after, the Brentford coming in at half time, I think against Brentford. Yeah, he came in at half time against Brentford and then starting the next 4 games in the league. You saw the difference. He is the perfect player to have next to Lisandro Martinez. He covers space so well, he reads the game so well, he's so athletic, he's so good in the air, he's decent on the ball. He's just an amazing defender. You saw when he's gone out that we do struggle. Like I've mentioned again, that Newcastle, Tottenham, Chelsea game, we allowed no chances until Varane came off. And then Sunday we started conceding chances again. And it's got, inconsistent since there. And it just shows how important it was to that side. And how quickly then them 3 got that connection. Even Martinez and Varane together, without Casemiro, they got that connection. He is so good. And I'll put him in great season, but he just has to play more to get that player of the year. And if he does play the whole of second half season, we do have are really looking good defensively. I'll put him in that player of the year category. But for now, great season because he hasn't played as much. Next player, Luke Shaw. You see, this is difficult with Luke Shaw. Because on the one hand, you think of some of the games, you go, he's looked amazing and looked back to his best. But then on the other hand, you also think back to, the Brentford game, the Brighton game, how he just, allowed Dan James to score against Fulham. But then you also think of the crosses he's put in. He does contribute to the team a bit better defensively. He's technically amazing. And it just does frustrate you why he can't do it more consistently. Luke Shaw's a very frustrating player because he's one of the most technically gifted players there is. He's always on the front foot. But that's the problem. When he is on the back foot, it's a bit dodgy. I'll put him in great season, I think, maybe. If there's a middle category between his contribution and great season, he'll probably be in there. But I'll put him in great season because he has probably had more good games than bad games. And in some games, he has looked really good. Like in that Tottenham game, in that Chelsea game, he looked really good. He put that cross in for Casemiro. But again, for second half of the season, he just has to carry on the good games and really start to cut out some of them bad games with it because he does put in some stinkers. Malacia, he's contributed, I think. Yeah, he has. There's a reason Luke Shaw's back in the team because he has a higher ceiling than Malacia. But coming in from the Dutch league, coming from a team like Feyenoord, he's done really well. He took Luke Shaw's spot when we do need a player to bring energy to the team. He does that. He provides a lot of energy. The work rate is there. End product is where it struggles. He has been brought off at half time a few times. When we maybe want our fullbacks to be a bit more reserved, sometimes he's there. He's probably the better option than over Luke Shaw. But I think coming from the Dutch league at a young age, like I said, Anthony, new league, new faces, new players, into the hardest league in the world, I think he's done really well. When he's got his chances, he's looked good. He got roasted in the last game, but he's asked to play right back. Shows he can be versatile as well. But he has shown promising signs, and it should only be able to build from here. Because he's brought in because he plays a job. Ten Hag doesn't want him flying down the wings and putting crosses. He wants them probably be more reserved, slot into midfield maybe when we're on the ball, and just play it to better players. Cut out attacks, and just be the player that we need him to be tactically. And he's done that this season. He hasn't been, amazing. No one's going to say he has been really, really good and been our best player and deserves to start over Luke Shaw. He doesn't, but for the price we paid him, probably about £12 million, he's been good. And finally, of the players that have played this season, Lindelof. It's because in some games Lindelof looks really good. And you go, he's definitely third choice centre back. But then you get some games like the Aston Villa away where you just got bullied. And you go, I think it's just that he's contributed as well. When we need him, he's there. We know what Lindelof brings. He brings decent ball playing ability. He reads the game quite well. He's not exactly fast. He's not a cover defender or aggressive defender. He just stands there, does his job. He's not going to bring anything exceptional to the side, but it brings that consistent, just always there. And you want that really in a player. He's not going to be terrible mistakes all the time. But he's not going to do anything exceptional really. And that's probably the definition of he's contributed. If he was making mistakes, it would be underwhelming, but he's just not making them consistently really. The other players that are on, down there is Mengi, Pellistri, Jones, Shoretiro, Tuanzebe, Williams, and Iqbal. They haven't played this season, so we can't really rate them. Hopefully some of them get some game time in the second half of the season. I'd like to see Iqbal or Mengi or Pellistri or Shoretiro. The others probably can go, but let me know in the comments if I should change anything. I'm going to look through the list now, but I don't think I will change anything. I think the list is fine as it is. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you change anything. Please like the video, subscribe, check out my other videos, Football Manager series, Pro Basketball Manager series, British Basketball podcast. So yeah, I'll see you next one. Bye.